Hello everyone, today I'm going to be VOD reviewing one of my subscribers with the help of a 1000 PR coach. If you want to get VOD reviewed yourself, join my Discord server, link in the pinned comments. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
In this fight, we can see Brad Booker getting a sneak up play on his opponent sitting in a bush to hopefully start the fight with at least 30 to 100 damage to immediately put his opponent on the back foot.
But unfortunately he doesn't hit his shots, but the good thing is that now he has the high ground, and this is really key to winning fights in Fortnite, as having high ground is going to allow you to control the fight, and controlling the fight is really important. Because of getting high ground, Brad Booker is actually able to get really nice piece control on his opponents, and he actually does a slight mistake here, which is to instantly edit these pieces. Now what he should have done is just move to the left, and this would have given him a much better peek and a much safer one as well. Because if this player was actually really good, then he would have been holding out his shotgun and actually pumped Brad Booker in the face and edited his ramp. Luckily for Brad Booker, this doesn't happen, and Brad Booker is able to get a lot of damage on his opponent for completely free. Now, another thing that is really good about this gameplay here is his ability to just continuously track his opponent, and because of that, he manages to punish his opponent for 70 HP.
Another thing is that I don't see a lot of players do is track their opponent through walls, and it's very easy to do this by utilizing visualized sound effect, because when you see the little footsteps on your screen, if you place your crosshair where they are, then that's where the opponent will be, and because this opponent hasn't placed a back wall yet, the player Brad Booker places his crosshair right where the visualized sound effects are and gets a free 70 damage tag.
So you essentially can use the visualized sound effects as a compass, and if you put your crosshair exactly in the same direction, then you only have to adjust it in the vertical. Now after this, the fight is really simple, and what Brad Booker should do here, and what I would have done and a lot of pros would have done, is just nitro and run into the opponent's box. But what he does instead is completely fine, and it actually works pretty nice as well. Now he takes his opponent as well and just sprays, and now this is fine, but he actually makes a mistake. He goes for the 50-50, which is not ideal, because here his opponent can actually hit him for a lot of damage. He could have 190'd him here. If that happens, then Brad Booker is left in a really unpleasant situation. What he should do here is just reset his WoW and let his opponent shoot it. But instead, he gets hit for 90 HP. Now this is not bad, but imagine that there was a third party near him. Brad Booker would have had to start the fight on a 90 HP advantage, and that is really not what you want to do in these fights, because then you'd be forced to play defensively. Okay, in the last fight we saw Brad Booker with a 90 HP disadvantage, and luckily he didn't get third party. But in this next fight, you can see Brad Booker actually third partying a fight in which the opponent is on a 90 HP disadvantage, and you can see how easy it is for Brad Booker to clean up this fight. Okay, here Brad Booker is really desperate to get into his opponent's box, and he's just nitroing, but we gotta give it to his opponent. He's playing really well, and what really saved him in his fight is that he placed a ramp. And now most of you would place a cone and flip it, but there's a big difference between ramps and cones. Now cones get damaged by the nitro, but luckily for us players, ramps do not get damaged by nitro. So when you place a ramp, then you're completely safe from the nitro. Because of that, when Brad Booker jumps in the opponent's box, he's actually able to get out of the box.
One thing that I really like what Brad Booker did here is, as he's building up to the opponent's box, he placed cones above him. So if the opponent wanted to play aggressive, which we can actually see, the opponent ain't got a roof, so he's ready. If we place a ramp and no cone, he can easily get some counter damage, and then we are on the back foot. But instead we blocked our head, so we can jump straight on his wall and try and nitro in that box.
Yeah, so this is really important to just not allow your opponent to get counter damage on you, so you can just continue your momentum. And that's actually what got him the win in this fight. Now you can see Brad Booker just jumping in his opponent's box. We actually couldn't really see it because of server lag, but I can't really do anything about that. And he gets the kill. Okay, here we can see Brad Booker sitting in his natural habitat for the rest of the game. Now you can see this being a really nice play, because he's sitting in a box that seems like it's already been open. So if anyone tries to get loot, then he's just going to pump them in the head. Also here we can see him camping in another building in his literal house. Now you can see he even has some lighting here. And if you thought that this is a serious VOD review, well, you were wrong. You're stuck here. You have to watch this for 5 minutes until we reach endgame, because I do not want to cut anything from my videos. Okay, in this clip we can see a wild Brad Booker camping in his favorite... In this clip we can see a wild Brad Booker camping in his favorite thing, a cone. He's ahead of congestion, and he's actually managed to get a really nice position here. What he should have done is he should have rotated instantly and went on this left side, because this is such a free rotate. But instead he actually makes a pretty big mistake.
So instead of taking the free rotate, which is obviously the left side, he decides to jump on two players' boxes here. And even in high elo, stupid players will make stupid mistakes and stupid plays. This player could have easily dropped him into his box, took a 50-50, and even if Brad Booker wins his 50-50, he can easily get third departed by literally the box opposite the player. And it was, even if we could have gone this route and just ramped up and avoided the players, and instead he went through this little gap in the hole next to the ramp there, and there could have been any players sitting behind there waiting for someone to rotate or in the builds, could have came down 50-50 to him and won, and then his whole game's over. And you never want to take 50-50s in Fortnite. You want to have the most skilled approach possible.
Now, Brad Booker actually gets pretty lucky, and nobody tags him on this shot rate. But as I said, it's all about chance. In this game, Brad Booker actually got lucky, but imagine he played 5 games, and he doesn't get lucky in 2 of them. Now, that's 40% less points. And 40% less points is not something you want to have in a tournament.
After Brad Booker sits in his box for another few minutes, he finally musters up the courage to rotate. A big misplay that Brad Booker has done here is he's invested a lot of his woods into this rotate just to get tagged anyway, and even though he's invested all of this woods, he later drops onto low grounds and makes a brick box, so he's just wasted around 300 woods, where a better rotate could have done. You could have reverted your ramps and slid down and then just boxed on low ground, but he wasted over 300 woods just on a rotate just to drop low ground anyway, so the builds mean nothing.
In this clip we can see Brad Booker trying to go for high ground, and now this is a really good play because you can see him having a lot of mats. He actually manages to chop the high ground player because he was not so well connected, and right now when he did that, he should immediately go for high ground. Like the second he got it, he should be on high ground. And he does a pretty big mistake that a lot of intermediate players make. This is to not build 90s when going on high ground. Now he actually just ramps up, and this is really bad because as you can see, he goes closer to his opponent, which is just what you do when you're trying to fight them. But when going for high ground, you're not really trying to fight your opponent, you're trying to go over him and claim high ground. So you should treat your opponent as someone who's trying to take height off you, not as someone who's trying to fight you. So if he had built 9 trees from here, he would have actually taken height pretty easily because he has way more mats than everyone else in the lobby. But instead, he actually doesn't manage to get height, and here he should just give it up because right now he sees the second player incoming. So there's really no point for him to go on high ground because he's just going to be third-partying a fight that he can't really fight because he would just grief himself. He doesn't really have that much mats, you know? He has 50 builds, so if he fights on high ground right now, he's only going to have about 20 builds if he actually manages to take it. And there's a pretty high chance that there is going to be a third party.
In this next fight, we see Brad Booker get an easy beam on his opponent for 100 damage as he goes up for high ground. And because his opponent is now on the back foot and trying to heal, Brad Booker actually gets height off the opponent, but is only left with around 300 metal to work with. And a good play for Brad Booker here would have actually been to look at that refresh that was in zone, but instead he starts tarping in zone with only around 200 metal.
This high ground take is really not good because here he only has 15 builds left, and when you have less than 20 builds left, it's really hard to get a refresh. A general rule of thumb is that when you have around 20 builds, you should go down and try to look for a refresh. And with his builds, he can hold high ground till the rest of the game. And a lot of people actually try to fight him for high ground, so he can assume that they're going to try to drop him again. But he doesn't do any of that because he's a little no-brain. Now instead, Brad Booker just continues spraying people that he doesn't really need to spray because he can see that this guy's in wood, meaning that he's most likely not that stacked. And the guy below him, well, he's on a single metal 4, so you can assume that he's going to beam the guy above him because he needs a refresh.
Another problem with Brad Booker playing high ground here is that he's only focusing on 2 opponents, but the rest of the lobby, as you all should know, crash pads only go 38 meters into the air, and all the players below him are around 38 meters, so they can easily place the floor, crash pad up and get an easy pump onto Brad Booker, forcing him to fall down, and then they get a free high ground off of him, and he just wasted all of his mats and all of his heals.
Now, the play that he makes here is pretty questionable, as he's trying to claim high grounds again. I'm guessing that this is because he didn't look at his builds enough. So yeah, make sure that you're checking your builds before going for a play in endgame, because you can be doing that. You can be going for high ground with 9 builds left. Because of that too, he's forced to give it up again, and falls on a really bad layer. One really big mistake that he does here again is just not going on a low ground. Now, if he went low ground here, then that would have allowed them to get a lot more opportunities to get a refresh. And then the thing that closed the game for him is that he didn't go for any of the refreshes that he could have went for. Now here he actually still has the nitro effect, and the nitro is the best way to get refreshes. And now he saw a lot of players just on low ground, so he could have easily just nitroed in their box and gotten a lot of refreshes, especially the kid that's on his right. If he was a bit more aware, that was a free refresh as well. Like, see, this kid is just running in the open, completely blind, like a little whopper. But he doesn't see any of that, so he eventually just ends up running in the open, and he just gets pumped in the head. And with that, the video is over. Like, subscribe, and go watch my other videos because I need the money, please.